I once heard a man describe his wife this way. The moment I saw her, I wanted to have sex with her half to death. The moment she spoke, I realized that someone had gotten ahead of me. That was my Samantha, as stupid as she was beautiful. I met Sam when she was fired for hacking into my client's computer network by uploading a video of a cute cat. Unfortunately, it turned out that Kitty was actually an evil, malicious lioness in disguise. She looked like she needed a friend, so I offered to carry the box of her personal belongings while the head of security escorted her from the premises. Okay, I admit, I thought that I would have no problem getting into her panties if I became friends. I soon learned that she never wore them under short skirts. Fast forward 6 months. Her childlike simplicity and unquenchable thirst for sex captivated me, and I asked her to move in with me. 6 months later, we got married. The night before our wedding, I took her hands and said, "I will be your champion, slaying dragons and picking locks for your amusement. I swear my eternal love and devotion." All I asked and demanded from her was absolute fidelity. If you ever kiss another man in a romantic way, our marriage will end. You won't have a second chance. No, I will destroy you and whoever was foolish enough to incur my wrath. I love you, and I will never do this, Sam swore. The first 2 years of our marriage were so incredible that all our friends were jealous. Sam did a great job playing the spoiled wife role. She spent her days playing sports or relaxing at the spa. We ate dinner at some of the best restaurants in Chicago almost every night. I draped her gorgeous body in designer clothes, suitably adorned with the finest jewels. I liked showing her off. But one day she announced that she was bored and wanted to find a job. Try as I might, I could not shake her resolve. I even offered to buy her her own business, a high-end boutique. Whatever she wanted. No, I want to do it myself. Much later, I learned that 2 divorced friends from the health club had sowed the seeds of discontent in my wife. These bitter women lost their husbands to younger women and took perverse joy in destroying happy marriages. Week after week, they worked on Sam until they convinced her that I didn't value her, and the key to her freedom was to get a job so she could have her own money. So Sam went looking for a job in a position that would suit her. Now, a beautiful woman wearing a $500 dress has no problem getting an interview. Her problem arose when she was asked difficult questions like, "What office skills do you have?" 3 months later, she's had dozens of interviews, but no one has even called her back to say, "Sorry, we don't have an opening for your unique skill set." At least that's what it says in the form letter I send out to unqualified losers. But one day she came home so excited that she could barely speak. She was hired as a personal assistant. I asked her a few simple questions like, "Who hired you and what are your job responsibilities?" Sam forgot the name of the company, but was sure she could find it again. The only thing she remembered was the travel situation. "With whom?" I asked. She rummaged through her $1,000 Gucci bag and found a business card. "I will be working for Andrew W. Carter and Associates." The card was a cheap rectangle of white cardboard, no graphics, just Andrew W. Carter, president, CEO, and telephone number. What a cheap asshole, I thought. What exactly does Andrew W. Carter and Partners do? This has something to do with the import or export of things. I took my wife in my arms and looked her straight in the eyes. "Samantha, I have a bad feeling. Let me check it out." This led to our first ever knockdown, a protracted dispute. "You don't want me to succeed, you just want me hanging on your arm like a Barbie doll." In truth, it was all she could do. Sam was stubborn. She dug in her heels and refused to listen to anything I had to say. She stuck her jaw out and stared at me. I knew that look meant she would rather take a beating than admit she was wrong. "I hope it's not too late before you open your eyes to the truth." I quietly got my investigators to begin a full investigation into Carter. On Sunday evening, I received an email with the complete dossier. Carter was a small-time importer of counterfeit products, which he sold to dollar stores. Much of his business was generated at regional shows, which is where Sam would appear. The current sales force consisted of men in their 50s. Sales fell as Chinese manufacturers cut out middlemen, workers as they were called in the trade, and sold directly. Ahead of the big show in New York, Carter met with his sales staff to brainstorm solutions. The future of the company depended on this show. There was a common idea that the easiest way to increase sales was to have a beautiful, short woman make that shortest skirt and revealing blouse for the representative at the stand. Sam had a closet full of clothes that met the requirements of the uniform. It was obvious that Carter did not need a personal assistant, but a magnet to attract clients. Things were pretty calm on Sunday. Sam was dressed to the nines on Monday morning. I praised her and offered to take her to work. She surprised me and said yes. I surprised her with an Italian leather briefcase. Sam accepted my gift with the words, "You will be proud of me." Carter's warehouse has definitely seen better days. It was an old 3-story building. Even the sign on it has faded. Sam looked nervously around the dilapidated building. After a couple of minutes, she leaned towards me and kissed me on the lips. This was an act she had been denying me since Friday. "I think it's here." "That's probably true. I'll pick you up at 5. She kissed me again and said, "I love you." "I love you too," I replied. This day dragged on endlessly. I waited at the end of the block for the clock to show 5 hours. When this happened, I stopped in front of the main entrance. Several dozen men in cheap suits came out in a crowd. This must be the sales department, I thought. After a few minutes, several older women left. Everyone was dressed for work in the warehouse. I waited 10 minutes before entering the lobby. Sam's laughter was heard in the distance. I noticed a bell on the secretary's desk and rang it vigorously. "I'll come out now," the wife shouted. As soon as I met her new boss, I immediately saw him as a bastard. He didn't even extend his hand to me to shake it, but only smiled ingratiatingly. As soon as we drove away, I warned my wife. "He was watching you like a lion, watching a gazelle. Don't be stupid. He's just a good salesman. Always on. Good seller. This man sells wholesale fakes made by slave labor. He, like his products, appeals to the dregs of civilization." Sam was silent until I pulled up to one of our favorite restaurants. On Tuesday morning, Sam dressed again, as if she were going to the dance. When I asked her why she was dressed like that for working in a dilapidated warehouse, she stated that she knew how to get to work and would drive herself. She left without answering my question or kissing me goodbye. She came home that evening excited after a day of researching their product line. She even had a bag full of junk. I tried my best to feign interest as she described each item. In the second week, 3 unpleasant things happened. Sam, still changing, began going to lunch with Carter so they could discuss the product line. She also began working late into the night with him to prepare for the New York exhibition. The last straw was when she stopped answering my calls because they were too busy with work. It all started on Thursday when Sam arrived home a few minutes before 10. I gave her an ultimatum. "Quit your job or else." "Don't be such a drama king. It's just a training period. After the exhibition, everything will calm down." I begged her to quit and again offered to invest in her own business, a store in a mall, whatever she wanted. She again demanded that I let her succeed on her own. On Friday, Sam ignored 10 phone calls and didn't get home until after 11. I was waiting at the door when she came in. "Do you have problems with your phone?" Sam instantly turned into an angry bitch because I don't trust her. "I would never get in your way if you had a big career." "Big career? You make minimum wage. The jewelry you're wearing is worth more than his entire business." Sam spat venom in response. "Why don't you trust me?" "I trust you. I don't trust Carter. I've seen too many predators like him. Also, what are your qualifications for this job, other than being pretty? Is there a reason you dress like a model to find out about a 99-cent piece of plastic in a dirty warehouse? This shit really hit the fan. There's a 3-day trading conference in New York next week, and I'm going there whether you like it or not. Get used to it. Then get used to living alone, because if I leave, I'm afraid I won't be here when you return. Our marriage will end." I can't believe you said that. You and I should plan how we will spend my salary. We could save it for a vacation in Europe, Hawaii, wherever you want. Europe, Hawaii, are you high? You make $13 an hour. Before taxes. You can't even afford to buy us a steak on your salary. Sam ran out of the room and locked herself in the bathroom. We didn't talk all weekend. A limousine picked her up on Monday morning. I kissed her for the last time and said, "You made your choice. I hope you can live with this." She didn't answer. It took a while, but I arranged for a private investigator to take the seat opposite her and Carter on the eastbound flight. The cheap bastard flew in economy. My person guaranteed that he could provide audio and video recordings of their entire trip. I was stupid enough to expect a phone call from Sam to say they had arrived safely, but instead I heard from my private investigator, they were careless, like school children who think they can get away with anything. Carter kept his hand on her thigh. She protested the first few times, but eventually she allowed him to touch her. I almost broke my phone. He then said that he would pass the observation on to his assistant so that they would not recognize him. It took me a damn long time not to call Sam and tell her I knew what they were doing, but it didn't work before. So I spent my time planning the second phase of my plan. That same evening I received a detailed message from my detective. They spent most of the day at business events. Unfortunately, at 6, they went to their rooms and changed for dinner. I recognized the little black dress Sam was wearing. The detectives were instructed not to intervene unless Carter forced Sam to do something. They were to observe and document. It was killing me. But she had to choose our marriage of her own free will. But that wouldn't stop me from making one last try. I watched the video of them walking into the restaurant hand in real time. I called my wife, but it went straight to voicemail. So I called the restaurant and got Mrs. Samantha Weatherstone. She wasn't too happy about me checking on her. I worked hard all day, and now I'm having dinner at the diner. You had the nerve to call me to check. Well, maybe if you answered my calls or messages, I wouldn't have to look for you. Samantha, I love you more than life itself. That's why I'm giving you one last chance to save our marriage. I know you don't eat at the diner. This is the first time you've lied to me, and I'm willing to forgive you if you tell Carter you're quitting. A first-class ticket will be waiting for you at the airport. Please, if you love me, if our marriage. The phone went silent. My wife hung up. My detective broadcast me a video of Sam drinking with Carter. This bastard heard our conversation, and I could tell he felt like he had chosen the right path when he hired Sam. He acted as if she belonged to him, groping her while he plied her with alcohol. An hour later, my man sent a video of them entering his room. I had to turn off my phone because I couldn't watch the feed from the cameras they had installed in Carter's room. Later, after a couple of strong drinks, I listened to him say stuff like how it was a shame that her husband didn't want her to succeed. He said I was jealous of her success. Stick with me, and I will make you the most successful saleswoman in this business. My idiot wife swallowed all his bullshit and ended our marriage. My next call was to colleagues at the New York Convention Center. Carter had already made sure his truck arrived this morning and was waiting to be unloaded. Inside, there was a stand, the largest and most luxurious at the exhibition, and thousands of catalogs and hundreds of free samples. The stand took up twice as much space as its largest competitor. It featured better video and lighting effects. Within minutes, Carter's 40-foot container disappeared from the loading dock. Within a week, it would be sitting empty at a truck stop in New Jersey. I spent the night sitting in my chair hoping Sam had come to her senses. The next morning, my detective confirmed that they spent the night in his room and had sex. He treated your wife like a woman of easy virtue. The detective said it looked like she hadn't slept a minute. I heard her cry almost all night. Trying to control my anger, I made 2 more calls, this time to a local phone number. I told everyone exactly one word: start. The next morning, the concierge slipped a note under Carter's door addressed to my wife. I called your room all night, but no one answered. This probably means goodbye forever. The detective said she screamed and started crying hysterically about how she had made a huge mistake and Carter better stay away from her or... What do I care about? I had sex with girls much better than you. Now get dressed. You have work to do. He picked up her dress from the floor and threw it at her. Sam begged him to give her a return ticket. He laughed in her face and called her a stupid slut. If you want to go home, you better get your ass ready to attract my clients. You got me drunk and raped me. Sam turned up the volume. I didn't force you to do anything. If you call the police, they'll look at how you were dressed and they'll know you're a slut. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock on the door. It was one of the sellers. Sam grabbed her dress and hurried to the bathroom. Carter opened the door bare-assed, holding Sam's lace bra. He wanted to make sure Angelo saw what he did. Boss, we have a big problem. I was in the conference room checking our place, but there was nothing there. What do you mean, nothing happened? That's what it means. There is no booth there, not a single box, no samples, nothing. I talked to the guy at the dock and he said the truck wasn't there. Carter turned white as a sheet. All he could say was, "Damn." It took Sam a while to gather the courage to call me. She obviously decided to play the fool of herself, in which she succeeded. I didn't answer, but it went straight to voicemail. Even though I knew it wouldn't change anything, I had to know if Sam is going to confess to his actions. Sorry, honey. I took sleeping pills and didn't hear the bell. She had the nerve to say, I love you. Please call me when you receive this message. After that, she called every 10 minutes. I ignored everything. Instead, I called my lawyer and asked him to prepare the divorce papers. Meanwhile, Carter was melting. The exhibition opened in 30 minutes, and he had nothing. He began frantically making phone calls. The police could not help. Cameras installed at the cargo dock showed a white truck with no license plates or name leaving the previous night. They said a detective would arrive in an hour or so to investigate. Carter called the warehouse and told them to collect all the catalogs and brochures they had and put them on the next flight to New York. There was rather meager loot there. Carter spent the day sitting on a borrowed bar stool in front of a cardboard sign he made at an office supply store. His sales staff looked awkward trying to sell invisible products. Sam looked terrible as she stood alone in the corner, silently crying. Andrew Carter and associates quickly became the butt of jokes among those present. His Chinese competitors, whose booth was just across the aisle, smiled politely and bowed to him every time they handed out one of their endless bags of samples. A pallet full of boxes finally showed up late on the second day of the show. Their contents, however, were outdated catalogs and last year's no longer hot products. My man said that several people had come in to talk to Carter, but no one wanted to book with a worker who, by all accounts, wouldn't be working for 3 months. Instead, his competitors sucked up all the orders. By the end of the second day, Carter was broken. In the end, he agreed to Sam's demand to let her go home. Carter rallied his trading staff and ordered them to continue the fight even as he made a hasty retreat. He told one of them to exchange the tickets and send them home as soon as possible. Sam was not very happy when she learned that the plane did not leave until 10 a.m. and spent the night locked in her room. She dutifully texted me her flight information. Flight 901 was arriving at O'Hare Airfield tomorrow at noon. Then she added, I miss you. Even though they were sitting next to each other, no one spoke. Carter was too busy trying to figure out how to restructure his line of credit since he no longer had the accounts receivable to back it up. Sam looked straight ahead and prayed throughout the flight that she could save her marriage. One of the added benefits of working for a venture capitalist is that I knew people who could succeed without wasting time on paperwork. These are people who exist in the darkest of shadows, and many of them owe me big favors. The 2 phone calls I made earlier set everything in motion. I knew that she would arrive by plane at 9 a.m. local time. I waited until the plane was airborne and she went offline to cancel both of our cell phones. I then canceled all of our credit cards and transferred every last cent we had in the bank to a hidden account. By noon, the money will be lost. Some asshole in a black robe may say that she has the right to half, but she is a slut, and she had a chance to save her family and not do anything stupid, especially since I begged her to stop and waited until the last moment for prudence. There was a knock on my door, and a team of movers began packing all my personal belongings for storage. I took all the jewelry that didn't make it to New York. 20 minutes after the movers left, a bulldozer and small crane were unloaded in my driveway. No questions were asked. They just proceeded to turn my $500,000 home into a neat pile of rubble. When they finished, they too disappeared into the fog, like the mythical Brigadoon. My detective was sitting in the row behind Sam. He said neither of them spoke a single word during the flight. As soon as they landed, she tried to turn on her cell phone. She became very nervous when she found out that her service was canceled. Sam almost ran down the ramp to get to the payphone. A man in a black suit, holding a sign with her name, stood in front of a crowd of departing passengers. She assumed he was the limousine driver to take her home and asked if she could borrow his phone. "Are you Mrs. Samantha Weatherstone?" "Yes, it's me. Now please lend me your phone." He handed her a large manila envelope. "You have been served. And no, you can't take my phone." Sam started to go crazy. "I don't see our driver," Carter said as he approached. "Get the hell away from me or I'll scream." Sam found a telephone and called me on my cell phone. She received a message that the number had been disconnected. She then dialed my office number, which I told her was for emergencies only, and was told that no one by that name worked there. I have already left for a new position in our Los Angeles office. Horror gripped her when she remembered the envelope. She tore the envelope and read the petition for dissolution of marriage. Samantha fell to her knees, sobbing. Photos of her naked with her boss started pouring in. What she didn't know was that his wife had been delivered an identical set of photographs at the same moment. Airport security was alerted that the woman had health problems, and a team arrived to provide assistance. One of them took her bags while paramedics tried to figure out what her problem was. She begged them to help her take a taxi. "I have to get home before it's too late," she begged. They went to meet her and caught a taxi. She begged the driver to go faster. When they pulled into her lane, she leaned forward and began directing the driver where to turn. As they rounded the bend, Sam looked puzzled and then let out a blood-curdling scream as she realized her home no longer existed. The driver wanted to get away from the crazy lady and demanded his $45 fare. She froze, handing him her credit card. He tried to start it. "This one doesn't work." She tried every card she had, but all were rejected. "If you don't have money, I'll call the police." Sam began to rummage through her pockets and finally found the money. The driver put her bags on the sidewalk and drove off. Samantha fell to the ground. She could barely breathe. Everything has disappeared. All her dreams were shattered. Carter's day ended as badly as it began. Two of my colleagues followed him to his home on the North Shore. They were driving a borrowed pickup truck when the driver stopped into the store for a pack of cigarettes. They watched from the street as Carter stepped out of the limousine and walked toward the front door with his shoulders slumped. He didn't even have time to reach the front door when his wife jumped out into the street and thundered, "Get out, you asshole son of a bitch!" She waved pictures of her and Sam having sex in his face. Carter was speechless as his wife attacked him. Two neighbors came out to see what was happening. Carter's BMW was parked in the driveway, and he was able to climb inside while she banged on the windshield. "I'm going to divorce your cheating ass." She picked up his suitcase and smashed it into pieces against the glass. Carter backed across the lawn to escape. He didn't even notice that he was being followed. Carter stopped at the bar and ordered a double clear scotch. He washed it down with another. After drinking 3 strong drinks, Carter made it easier for himself by deciding to go to his warehouse. That same night, the office and warehouse of the firm of Andrew Carter and Partners burned to the ground. It was the top story on the news for 2 days. It was the most spectacular fire yet, involving fire trucks from 7 suburban departments. You might imagine the flames licking the sky, clearing the earth of the stench of Andrew Carter. It was still smoldering the next day when firefighters were able to enter to pour water on the blazing spots of the fire. The fire burned so hot from all the paper and plastic that it took investigators 2 more days to find Carter's charred remains. There was a large hole in the skull. A pistol was found a few feet away with 1 bullet missing. The body was so burned that the coroner could not see that Carter had been tortured for more than 6 hours before he was allowed to die. They were able to identify him only from his dental records. The coroner's inquest ruled his death a suicide. Their sequence of events suggested that he was depressed about the missing truck and the complete failure of the exhibition, and then his wife kicked him out for having an affair. He then got drunk, turned off the fire system, and set his warehouse on fire. As the flames approached his office, he put the barrel of a gun in his mouth and committed suicide. The insurance company also assigned a team of arson investigators to comb through what little remained of the massive building. Their forensic accounting colleagues confirmed that the fire was set to collect insurance. In the end, they denied it to his widow. Because one man couldn't keep his instrument in his pants, his wife and children lost their home, 20 people lost their jobs, and I lost the only woman I've ever loved. As for the 2 witches who caused all this sadness, I did everything to make sure that they would never cause anyone any trouble again. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one.